Bringing my tissues up here with me. It's the worst time ever to get a little bit of case of the sniffles, so bear with me. It's a little bit loud with my necklace. I might unaccessorize for you guys if it gets loud. So anyway, this is my first time speaking in about 8 months, and I'm a little nervous, and I'm kind of surprised. But I'm really excited to be here. It has been a fabulous day. I've learned so much. It's opened my eyes to a few things, and I'm sure you guys have had a great experience as well, and off it goes. There we go. All right. The clicker is right here. Cool. We're going to do this next slide super fast. I started in an agency. I went in-house. I've been a recruiter for 16 years. And about a year ago, I started my own company. And I do consulting and training for brands to help them with sourcing, employer branding, social recruiting, et cetera. As Lars was kind enough to mention, I've been working at ZAPPOS since February. And I just started on with Restoration Hardware, who's in the room. And I also train other clients. Right now, I'm also working with Rivios and a few other clients. And I have 2 kids and a husband, and I don't sleep ever. So next. OK. A lot of you know that we launched this whole ZAPPOS Insider program back in May. I'm not here to talk about that specifically. I am here to talk about employer brand and all the fun stuff that we've done to support that. Now that we're less reliant on job postings, we do still have some out there for niche reasons and certain use cases and A/B testing and all that fun stuff. But for the most part, we're not driving traffic to us through job posting channels. We're really reliant on employer branding more than ever. Now that we have this new program, like I said, we needed to tell our story more than ever as a result of this new initiative. We did this so that we could be more forward-facing. We weren't always looking backwards at candidates about jobs that we'd already filled and sending rejection letter after rejection letter. We hired less than 1% of our applicants last year. So our 99% of the people that approached us got a rejection letter, and that was their only communication with us. Our reason for moving to a different program, the ZAPPOS Insider program, was so that people could just raise their hand and say, I want to work for ZAPPOS one day. Not necessarily I want to work for in this one role specifically, and that's it. So I want to be a tech insider. I want to work in tech, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month. So we wanted to drum up some interest. This is a long-term game we're talking about. We want to really find people who are fans of our company, who are a good culture fit, get to know them, start those two-way conversations, really get to know who the A players are so that when a position does become available, we know exactly who our top candidates are or top prospects might be. So we need to tell our story. As you all know, employer branding is not about slick, fancy marketing. It's not about some executive being interviewed in a boardroom. People want to see what a day in the life at that company is all about. They just want to peek between the blinds. They want to see Joe working in his cube with his Dilbert cartoon and 3-day-old Starbucks cup. It's OK. They want to see, can I relate to these people? Can I see myself working there? What does the facility look like? What are the people like? What's the culture like? Is it a little buttoned up and stuffy, or is it kind of wild and crazy like ZAPPOS, right? So you want to just shine a light on what's already there. That's your brand. I know you've heard a lot about that today. You're probably going to hear more. That's not why I'm here. I want to tell you about some extracurricular things that you can do to go above and beyond and not just do the traditional social media employer branding. We're trying to shake it up a little bit, get creative, try new things. Some of it's working. Some of it may not work. Some of it will maybe work long term. We're shifting as we go. But at the end of the day, this is employer branding. It's important to do it. I want you guys to know that even if you aren't doing all of the things that we're doing, some of this is very much accessible to every single person in this room, every single company. We have limited resources. We have 6 whole recruiters. Most of them have about 2 years of recruiting experience. We have practically 0 budget. You're going to see that a lot of these things were done for free. We have very limited time and resources. 6 recruiters are processing 31,000 applications and doing a lot of other things on the side. So if you think that we have this big budget and this giant team, we certainly don't. So we learn to do more with less. In fact, that's one of our core values. I say our. I've been there a while. I feel like a Zapponian through and through. So the first thing that we did, and I'm going to talk a little bit in a case study sort of sense and looking back at what we did, but I'm also going to speak sort of telling you what you guys can do as well. These things are all absolutely doable, right? We set up our social infrastructure. Even before we launched the Zappos Insider program, we wanted to get those two-way conversations started. We wanted to start building a following. We wanted to start building our brand, kind of solidifying what our message is and who we are, and building that transparency/translucency, all that we talked about today. We wanted to be accessible, all those things. So setting up that social infrastructure was a good start, and that's what we did. And a lot of folks are doing that. Here's some of the stuff that we did to take it even a step further, okay? We chose a consistent employer brand name across all our channels. We actually chose Inside Zappos. I know that there's an Inside Glassdoor. We weren't the ones that came up with the Inside name. I kind of like it because it shows what life is really like in the company, the day in the life type experience. So we chose this one. So when we launched our Twitter handle on St. Patrick's Day of this year, it was a very lucky day. It was our first social presence from a recruiting standpoint as Inside Zappos. And we started there, then we added Facebook, then we added Pinterest, Instagram, we have a LinkedIn group, a bunch of different things. But we consistently branded everywhere. So when people see Inside Zappos, they know that that's our recruiting handle, and we're going to be talking about life as an employee at Zappos. Hashtags. Choose an employer brand hashtag. We chose Inside Zappos, which incidentally happens to be the same as our handle. I know Glassdoor uses Life at Glassdoor, I believe. Am I right, Will? You can choose a hashtag. That way, other people throughout your company, as they're talking about things that are going on at your company, they will start using those hashtags. Our employees all around the company on Instagram, on Pinterest, on Twitter, on Facebook, they're all using the Inside Zappos hashtag. And we didn't train them or tell them to. They just see other employees using it, and it kind of just spread organically. So now when you click that Inside Zappos hashtag on Instagram, you're going to pull up all sorts of stuff that has to do with life at Zappos. This is our everyday experiences. And it's working internally. It's creating internal awareness. It's creating external awareness. Candidates can look at it. Prospects can look at it. You name it. But this creates some searchability across social channels. So be consistent. Use it. And everyone will start to pick it up and start using it as well. So it's just a little bit around consistency. Again, nothing too crazy yet. Here we go. All right. One of the first things that we did was we launched a bi-weekly tweet chat. Every other Thursday at 10 a.m., we have a tweet chat. The first time, I think we sent a little email out to some of the folks on the team. But this is recruiters, this is insiders, but this is also employees all around the company. We have folks in tech, merchandising, marketing, interns, management, you name it. We have people all around the company. We have 5 set questions for 30 minutes, and we do a Q&A, basically. What's your favorite experience? What's your favorite memory at Zappos? Whatever. How did you start out in the company? Whatever the questions are, what's your favorite core value? What should an insider know before they come to work at Zappos? What's your craziest memory from the holiday parties? Like, we get stories of people dressing up in, anyway, I won't even go there today. Look it up online. It's all there. But my point is this, is we have employees, we have recruiters, we have insiders, we have fans of the company, we have prospects, everybody coming together to talk about life at Zappos. Fastest 30 minutes of your week, hands down. It's a lot of fun, and guess how much does that cost to set up a tweet chat? It's free, right? And it's a great team builder. In fact, my boss, Mike Balin, the head of talent, came up after. He's like, that's the best thing ever. Our team was going around high-fiving everyone afterwards. It was such a great thing. Everyone's like, I need a cigarette. You know, it was so fabulous. So it's a really good morale booster because everyone's talking about, wow, I really like working here. And you know, it reminds them how much they love their job to talk about it and express that to other people. So it's not only good for external branding and internal branding, but also for kind of a little team morale booster as well. All right, we created something called the Social VIP rotational program. Basically, what that is every week we dictate or we rotate it out. One recruiter is the voice of Inside Zappos for that week on social media. And they also select a business partner from the business unit they support. If they're the tech recruiter, they pick someone in tech, anyone in tech who's on Twitter. And those 2 people engage and talk online all week on Twitter, on Facebook, what have you. And they're just tweeting and retweeting, and that person is driving all the content for our employer brand on social media for that week. How many people in this room would feel comfortable with that idea? I don't expect to see a lot of hands. I see a few, which is good because we're at an Employer Brand Summit. At an HR conference I went to recently, I think Robert Homan was there, no one raised their hand. the way I look at it, and I just tweeted this out a moment ago, but if your recruiters are already the front line of your company all day, every day, and they represent your brand externally in a very visible way, because people see recruiter, they know that that person's representing that company. If you don't trust them to represent your company and be a brand ambassador in a positive way on an everyday basis, then they maybe shouldn't be working for you. We trust our recruiters implicitly. Every single recruiter has a unique voice. This, by the way, was a photo shoot. What did you want to be when you grew up? So we had a little bit of everything. No one ever says recruiter. Why is that? Anyway, when I grow up, okay, so every single person, as you can see, has a unique voice. And that comes through in our tweets, in our shares, in the content that we're sharing. But it creates this total picture, right? Like I said, right? We're painting a picture. We're telling a story. And when each person kind of shares their story, then therefore it creates this overall representation of what life is really like at Zappos. Along those same lines, every week, the social VIP also writes a blog. And we vary the content. I think in the beginning it was, hey, come to meet. This is my story of how I joined Zappos. We had one person who wrote a poem. We had one person who did it to Journey's Can't Stop Believing. Just a small town girl. And then she wrote her little diary. And then she did the next line. And wrote one person did it as a recipe. My grandma's recipe. She's a real sweetheart. My grandma's recipe for sugar cookies. Add a dash of sugar. And she wrote this thing. Like, she's sweetsy. But her whole thing about Zappos is like the perfect recipe, a mix of love, a little bit of passion, a dash of this. So each person has a unique voice. Cody, he's awesome, love him. So he's one of our recruiting coordinators. Yes, we trust our recruiting coordinators to be the voice of social online. And we don't censor their content or approve it ahead of time, or they're creating the content, they're engaging with candidates. It's them. We trust them. Have we ever had any issues? We had one time somebody forgot an apostrophe. But that's OK. We're not perfect. We're Zappos. We don't pretend to be perfect. But really, nothing super detrimental has happened, right? We launched a brand new careers page. Love this new careers page. Our old one wasn't necessarily representative of the brand in a good way. Had some clip art. I don't know, the little clippy Microsoft guy. Do you remember the little paperclip guy? Anyway, it was everything except for him. But our new one is great. The reason it's so great isn't necessarily because it looks fancy or what have you, but it's really, really transparent. Sorry to keep using that word. We have people sliders. Each team, you can slide through and see 20 people on just the finance team. And you can hover over it. It'll tell you their title. There's all this Q&A. This isn't it. We're going to be adding their LinkedIn and their Twitter handles very, very soon. So you can actually get to know each person on the team. I'm applying for a recruiter job. Let me look in the HR. Let me see who the recruiter. Oh, wow. It's not every single person in the company, obviously. But these are the people that, they made their funny faces and did whatever. I mean, it's Zappos. So, but it's a great way for people to feel like they can do their homework before they interview, or before they even want to be considered. They can feel like they know the people, they know the players. Can I see myself working with this team? Some people might see that and be like, oh, heck no, right? And that's OK. There's that self-selection that we talked about. Some people, Zappos is great, and it fits me really, really, really well. But it may not fit everyone. And so the more you learn, if you learn that it's not really working for you, that's OK. In fact, one of the key goals in launching the Zappos Insider program was that we would get less applicants. Shocker, that our goal was less applicants, but higher quality applicants, people who fit our culture, fit our openings more. So I don't know very many people that say they automatically want more quantity of candidates or applicants, right? We wanted less people in the pipeline, but a better fit. All right, we know, statistically, I believe, it is actually easier to get into Harvard than to get a job at Zappos. It's really crazy. We've realized that only less than 1% of people who want to work for Zappos and join the program or submit a resume at some point are actually going to be hired. That leaves 99% of everyone else potentially very disappointed and frustrated as time goes on. We've realized that. What we're trying to do is keep them happy, do what we can, add value. We're actually providing career workshops. We're doing a workshop Wednesday. We're playing with some of the names. But we're actually giving people, I'm doing one in a couple of weeks that's all about LinkedIn networking for job seekers and what you need to know. It's actually based on a blog post I wrote for Rayanne Thorne at some point based on that content. But after that, we're going to have one where Kyle, one of our recruiting coordinators or sourcers rather, is going to be doing one on video cover letters. At ZAPPOS, we don't just use cover letters, we use video cover letters so that people can tell us their story and let us really get to know who they are, those two-way conversations, that getting to know you process before we get too far along. We do a monthly newsletter. That's kind of off and running. We've got the second monthly edition coming, so it's kind of monthly. It's just getting started. But basically, it's sort of what events have been happening, what's been happening at ZAPPOS, what's going to be happening next month, in the next month or so. And then we break it down by team. We have a little blog post or an update for tech, and then we have one for marketing. Because when folks join up, they say, I want to be a tech insider, I want to be a marketing insider, I want to be a merch. So we're actually breaking it down by team so they can see what's going on in that team. And really feel like they know the company. Again, these are not crazy things. We have one person who writes it up. We have a few people contributing some blog posts here and there. We're soliciting the team to come together. But we're creating a sense of people really getting to know what it's like inside the company. We might eventually break it out and just do team-specific ones. But for now, we're kind of culminating it all together. But a newsletter, I mean, it's email, but it is what it is. And doesn't take a big budget. We're doing exclusive insider-only events. This is not a job fair. Please don't bring a resume. Come eat ice cream with us and hang out for an hour and chit-chat and meet the different people of the team. We sent this out to the folks that live in Vegas, the local people, and we had 350 people RSVP within a few hours, and it was filled up. And we had 350 people actually show up for ice cream. And we all had some ice cream. We got to come chill with the ZAPPOS employees and meet, mix, and mingle for an hour and just talk. Nobody brought a resume. There were no interviews. But there were some conversations happening. And, oh, yeah, you're Pep from Twitter. I retweet with you. And da-da-da. We got to do names and faces and just start some of those conversations. It was great. It was a ton of fun. It was a little bit frantic right before it happened. But it worked. We got 350 people in the door, and everyone got some ice cream. We still want to advertise the fact that we are hiring, because we still are. So we're actually doing some creative things with job postings and job slots. So we're actually, Work4 does some Facebook marketing and job postings and things. We're actually taking some of those Work4 ads, and instead of saying financial analyst, rec number 12345, apply online via this link, we're saying, hey, ZAPPOS is hiring finance folks. Become a finance insider, or like our Inside ZAPPOS page. That sort of thing. So we're doing some creative things. We're doing some things on LinkedIn. We're utilizing some job slots, but trying to do a call to action, which is slightly different. But get creative. Use your recruitment ads. Work with us ads on LinkedIn and different places. Picture yourself at the company. So think outside the box. You don't have to use job postings to post a certain job. Maybe you just want to kind of rally the troops or do some different things. So get creative and try new things. The personal touch. This was a big tenet of why we launched the whole program. But we wanted to do proactive interviewing. We're picking up the phone and we're calling folks before we have a position available. Wow, this guy applied. He looks great. I'm going to call him now. We don't have any openings right now, but we're going to start that conversation. So we're having lots of proactive interviews. We're pipelining talent. We have a whole new CRM built for this. And we're slotting people. We're figuring out how to organize. We're using tags and all sorts of fun stuff. But yeah, we're talking to people proactively. So instead of saying, hi, I'm calling about the financial analyst job and doing an interview, and then a week later sending in a rejection letter if it doesn't work out, hey, we've got some finance openings coming up. I would really love to talk to you, get to know you better. Great, da-da-da-da-da. And at the end of the conversation, you can leave it on a positive and say, you know what, if they are a fit or even if they're not, I'm really glad I got to meet you. I've got some notes here. If something comes up, we'll be able to consider you, keep you in mind. Please stay in touch. We've got all this stuff happening on Twitter and all this. And then you hang up and it's a positive. They're not expecting a sign-off letter or some kind of feedback. Frees up time on the recruiter's end. That's a 10-minute conversation, not a 30-minute phone screen. There's no sign-off letter that has to happen. You hang up and that candidate has a positive experience because you talked to them proactively. No one else is doing that with them. I'll tell you right now, not very much anyway. So do this. We actually have one person on the team as part of his job. His sole job is to go through and look at people who have applied, and the ones that look like really high potential or strong fits or people that are really active on our social channels and have that strong background to match, his sole job is, part of his job is to pick up the phone and just have these conversations. Hey, I'm not really calling for any reason. I'm not even that recruiter for that team. I just really thought you looked like wanted to get to know you better, taking some notes. And it's all about that culture fit. As you know, as we talked today, Josh Burson, I think it said it, someone can look perfect on paper, but if that culture fit is not there, then at the end of the day, they're not going to be successful. They're not going to be engaged. It's going to be an issue for the team. It's going to affect morale. They end up leaving. It costs how many times more than their annual salary to backfill them, all these horrible things that happen, right? Let's do a little homework on the front end rather than committing too quickly. Tony Hsieh says it often, take a long time to hire and a short time to fire. Most people do it the other way around. He says take a long time to hire. So we're starting these conversations now. We might not have an opening until next year. That's OK. Let's get to know them now. We're doing Google Hangouts on air with team members. You can do this. Google Hangouts are free. 10 or 15 people can participate. Everyone else who's watching can watch it on live stream with like a 1-second delay on YouTube, basically. So we have people from our tech team. That one's happening in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We're going to have our first one. It hasn't happened yet, but it's going to be awesome. I know. But we're having our tech team. We're having our CTO, but we're also having regular QA person, a dev person, engineering person. We're having our tech recruiter on the call. We're having one of our recruiting coordinators. I'm going to be behind the scenes, like frantically handling all the Q&A and sipping a cocktail on the side. But yeah, so we're having some Hangouts on air where we're going to have some preset questions very similar to the tweet chats. And everyone's just going to talk. Like, hey, what do you like? What are some of the tech challenges? They're going to talk all tech and geeky, and all the tech folks are going to eat it up. And it's going to be so awesome. I can't wait. But yeah, so then they're going to know, what do you guys do when you're not at work? What happens in Vegas? I don't like the strip clubs and the strip and all the casinos. And well, actually, we're downtown, and it's a very different vibe, and da-da-da-da-da. And we go to Red Rocks, and we hike on the weekends. And we just did this tubing trip last week, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot to be said that can't be said in a blog post or a tweet. This is our chance to have conversations and live Q&A. This month, we're not having insiders on the Google Hangout, but I recommend that we do that next month, so we'll see if I win. But I'm trying to get insiders actually on the screen and talking to folks. All right. We did it recently, an internal recruiting open house. It was so fun. It was like a carnival at ZAPPOS. We had little spin the wheel and face painting, and I don't know, that's a ZAPPOS thing. But the point is we did it solely for that internal employer branding that we talked about. Somebody else, I apologize, I don't remember. Someone else talked about how you don't only brand externally to people who might want to work for your company. You want to brand your company internally as well. This wasn't a job fair thing where, oh, apply for jobs. This was, hey, guys, you see all this inside ZAPPOS stuff. What is this even about? What's going on? Come meet the team. Come meet the recruiters. Learn what's going on. Participate in our efforts. If you see all this stuff happening in the tweet chats, or if you see this on Instagram and this hashtag, this is what that means. We had people come out. We had drinks and refreshment and hot dogs and popcorn and cotton candy and what have you. And it was a ton of fun. But at the end of the day, we drove some internal awareness as what's going on. I spoke at a conference, a little local thing, last year, and the CEO of this company stood up, and I really loved what he said. He said, I have 2 jobs, my 2 most important jobs at my company. Number 1, I need to make money for my shareholders. My second most important job is to be the best damn recruiter at this company. And every other person underneath of me better be doing the same thing. And I'm like, oh, I love that. I want to work with that company, right? The CEO believes that everyone is a recruiter. Well, by doing things like this, driving internal awareness, all of your employees are now kind of pitched in on that recruiting process. At least being aware of it, that's half the battle. We have a renewed focus on candidate experience. One of the things that we do, thank you, hat tip to Allison Haddon, when people arrive now, and we didn't invent this, but when people arrive, we give them an iPad. And it has their schedule for the day. It has all of the people they're going to be meeting with. It has a link to that person's LinkedIn profile so they can do their homework on them. It has their airfare, their check-in, their shuttle schedule. It has some games they can play if there's downtime. They can check their email. Whatever they need to do, they have their little window on the world. We also have a link to the Glassdoor interview feedback page right on there. Why not get their feedback on the interview while they're there? It's fresh in their mind. And they're still probably feeling pretty darn good about the interview process at ZAPPOS. They haven't gotten any negative feedback yet. Sorry. But yeah, why not do that? We have all sorts of fun things happening around candidate experience. We're renewing some of our interview techniques, some of our Whole bunch of fun stuff. But this is all part of your brand because, again, what people say about you when you're not in the room is what your brand is. And if you are not treating candidates in the right way, it's going to come back to haunt you. So this is absolutely part of your brand strategy, is to have an awareness on candidate experience. This was the most expensive thing we've done so far out of all the stuff I've told you about, pretty much. All right. And last but not least, we have not launched a talent community. I know a lot of people thought that we did. It's not a talent community, but we have created a sense of community. In fact, we had a bunch of people on Twitter that were all tweeting about Inside Zappos. They started tweeting each other. They sort of became friends. One was like, I'm going to be touring Zappos. We have public tours of our facility. I'm going to be touring Zappos on May 20-something, whatever the date was, June or whatever. And they were like, I want to go too. Me too. So they all coordinated. They scheduled their tour together. They were tweeting it up, getting all excited. They had T-shirts made with their Twitter handles. When they were done the tour, we took them up to the 10th floor. They're not supposed to go up to the 10th floor. It's our co-working space. And we played board games with them and hung out. I think there might have been a little some adult beverages to celebrate the fun experience. I don't know. This is all kind of part of the culture. But these folks all came. And this one right here has since been hired. So woohoo! All right. And last but not least, it's been said before, I think it was also Josh who said that your employee engagement is your brand. Well, same thing. Your culture is your brand. Shine a spotlight on the culture that you have, and that is ultimately your brand. And that, don't overthink it. That's all branding is shining a spotlight on what's really there. Every single person in this room can do it. Limited resources, limited budget. You can do it. All right, that's all. Thank you, guys. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Stacy. I know we have a few questions from Twitter, so I just have a quick one for you.
OK.
You've got tons of programs in here that you're working with. What's your favorite?
What is my favorite? Oh, my gosh. I'm always going to love social. I actually handed it off a couple of months ago, and I miss it. Of all these, I'm kind of excited about the Google Hangout. I think that that's different. It's something that we can replay. We can put it on our website. We can use it forevermore. I'm kind of excited. It hasn't happened yet. Maybe that's why I'm excited. I'm kind of like, always want something new. And once it's been done, I'm like, okay, I want the next new thing. Let me think. What else? Of all these different things, what's my favorite? Gosh, I don't know. I love it all. I love my job. I love every single thing. If you can't tell, I'm pretty passionate about this stuff. I'm a total work geek. But I don't know. I'm really excited about all this. And I'm excited. This is a really exciting time to be in recruiting. We didn't do all this stuff, back when I first started, back in the days of Y2K recruiting and what have you. So anyway,
Yay.
We sent postcards to every single person who applied, though. We cared about candidate experience, and yeah, it was still a focus.
All right, so I know we have a lot of questions from Twitter. So Allison, what do we got?
I'm just going to have time for a couple. I'm going to pull one here. This was from @ClearPeakBI. They asked, how do you get, this is a great one, how do you get the social media introverts within the organization to buy in and contribute to a social media recruitment movement?
Well, good question. Not everyone's going to take to social. We have a couple people on the team who are less social. However, they have strengths in other areas, and they tend to be more kind of extroverted in those areas, and that's OK. We're not forcing everyone to tweet all day, every day, but they can participate in the tweet chats and feel like they're having fun. Some people are out there, and they're just doing it all day, and I'm blowing your mind. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that you can force people to be social. You can force them to do social, which at the end of the day is going to backfire, I think. I would just say let the social thing sort of happen organically. The people that give them the training, give them the understanding, give them the tools. I had Twitter for a year, and I tweeted once, I think, and I was like, I do not get this. And then I got a half-day training from Gail Houston, shout out to Gail Houston at Intuit, who taught me Twitter. And after about a 30-minute training, oh my gosh, I just never looked back. I love it. So I just think, yeah, the right tools, the right technologies, but don't force it. If it isn't natural to them, it's going to come through. It's going to be forced and ugly and not good.
I've got another one here from @Nicholas A. Boyd. He asks, how do you determine what recruiters get to be social VIPs for a week?
Oh.
Do you align an editorial calendar?
We do have a slight editorial calendar. We don't actually, we do it on a week-by-week basis. So they come up with their 2 tweets a day, and one of those is going to go on Facebook. And if it's visual, it also makes it to Instagram. But we do it kind of a week ahead of time. It's not approved by anyone. It's just so that we have it. We kind of use some scheduling tools. We all get busy. They have real jobs, not just social. So that way we have this catch-all. But then they go in the morning for a few minutes. They go in the evening, afternoon, and they engage to make sure that nothing kind of slips through the cracks. But every single person takes a turn at the wheel. The folks that don't feel comfortable, that's all right. They may not be quite as engaging, but they still have a voice, and they still represent the brand. And it's, we have every 6 weeks or so 6 recruiters. So it's not overly complicated, and it works out. And not everyone has to do it this exact way. Maybe you pick 2 or 3 that are your most social people, and you rotate it out. Chances are, if they're really social, they're not going to mind this. Like, all the recruiters are like, woo, it's my week to do the social VIP. They get excited about it. It's not a chore to them.
I've got another one here from @SafetyBobSF.
Hey, Safety Bob.
How have recruiter metrics changed at Zappos with the disappearance of job postings? Are you still measuring filled positions?
Oh, yeah. Ask the first part of that real quick. I was too busy raising the
How
roof.
have the recruiter metrics changed at Zappos with the disappearance of job postings?
The metrics are still the same. We don't call people candidates until they actually are interviewed for a specific position. Until then, they're just insiders, not just insiders. But we're still tracking things. We're still measuring. Fortunately, what our main goals were to decrease the overall quantity of applicants or people that are being considered, drive up the quality. The people that we're submitting, more of them are making it to interview. The quality is there. We're still tracking. We're going to be announcing some numbers actually next month about the Zappos Insiders program specifically. But fortunately to say, every single one of the metrics that we used to measure and still do is trending positively, or it's a little bit too soon to tell because we're not far enough in the recruiting life cycle yet to measure. But we have not seen any red yet. We have everything color-coded, green, yellow, or red. And there's no red yet, so it's working. And I'm very excited about that.
Got it. And we've got time for one more from the audience, and then we are going to take our final break of the day. I will pass it over here.
Hello, Jenny Devine with ADP.
Hi, Jenny.
Stacy, I know that you are a big fan of Candid Experience like I am with Jerry Crispin, Candid Experience Awards. And
yes.
So when you said to me, or the folks in the audience and on the live stream, that 99% of your applicants are rejected.
They were.
What have you...
Not now.
No, what have you done or integrated since you've been at Zappos to make sure you are handling those rejections well? Because I think you've done a good job of telling us how you're trying to get a better quality of applicant.
Yes.
And also how you're trying to manage the folks that you may not be able to hire today, but tomorrow. But how are you managing all those rejections now?
We aren't doing rejections now. That's the whole point. Before we had job postings, people applied. They didn't get the job. They got a rejection letter. So their only experience with us was applying, rejection letter, apply, rejection letter, apply, rejection letter. Now they raise their hand saying, I want to be a tech insider. So we keep marketing them. We invite them to events. Join our tech Google Hangout. Come to our tech. It's about engagement. It's about raising their hand. They understand they might get a job in tech tomorrow, next month, next year. It may not happen, but if and when it does, we'll let you know. But there's not a apply to become a tech and then get a rejection letter. There is no rejection letter because this is an infinite game. There's no end game to this. Maybe there's a job in 5 years. I've been looking at Zappos for a long time, and when I finally got the job here, I was stoked. I cannot even tell you. It was a pipe dream 5 years ago, but I kind of hung in there. I kind of and sure enough, it did happen. So when the time is right, the position's right. But we don't now, someone becomes an insider, we don't reject them. They're always an insider. There is no rejection point unless they actually get interviewed for a position, at which point they need feedback. And every single person who applied to Zappos last year, all 31,000, got feedback in the form of a rejection letter, which was looking backwards about closed positions, talking about something that's not even open anymore, in a negative candidate experience. The only conversation that's happening is to tell them they didn't get the job rather than talking about what might be coming up. We just turned a very negative, backwards focused process into a forward-facing, more open process. Does that make sense? And in some groups, we're still posting jobs in tech because we didn't have too many applicants for tech, right? So it didn't make sense to do that for that group. Our internship program right now has, for a 2-week window, we post all our intern jobs, and then we have this thing, and we don't actually go out to college campuses. We actually fly everyone in for the Zappos experience. It's a whole different thing. So we are using postings in certain contexts, but for all the other areas, they're gone because it just didn't make sense for us to have all of their communication with us be a negative one.
Awesome. We've got a couple more questions from Twitter, and I know more from the audience, but keep in mind the last section of the day, we are going to do an open Q&A for all of the speakers coming in both from Twitter and people in the room, so we will get to your questions. What we're going to do now is take a very quick 15-minute break, but I want Lars to thank Stacy for doing such a great job.
Thank you, guys. You've been awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy.